you being a Dominican, from your understanding, why do you think it is that a lot of black people in Dominican Republic claim that they're not black? From your understanding.
The reason that we don't embrace our blackness and we hide from it is because we're ashamed of it and we don't want to embrace it. I was brainwashed to believe, and I was one of those fellows Dominicans that was like that. Oh, I know black, but we are black. But it's so normalized and we're so hurt from the past, of course, and we're so brainwashed and still traumatized that we don't want to embrace that. We've been taught that the darker you are, the eviler you are.
In your opinion, why do you think that there's denial in what you just shared? Because I agree with you, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree
You have
with.
to start from somewhere. I wasn't born knowing my information. I didn't know. They didn't teach me none of these things. I was one of those kids saying that too until I found out that, those people are my people. We're the same, you know?
Absolutely. I've had obviously a couple of Dominicans up here. A lot of them who said what you said. But then
It's rare to
obviously,
find my kind.
yeah,
You rarely
absolutely.
find my kind because we're sleeping. We're not conscious. They did the same thing to us as well, to your people. We're
Right.
going through this all together, but they
Right.
try to divide us. We're more separated than ever. We like to glorify these flags that took over us. We're glorifying the people that took over us. We're speaking
Yeah.
their language and embracing their flags. This is not our original descendants. They were killed and wiped out.
Hmm.
I don't think people realize that.
I always knew that it came from a place of self-hate. I always
It's
knew this.
always self-hate. Yeah, it always starts from that.
I did have a Dominican up here, and he was a black presenting person, but his name was Taino on his TikTok handler. And so, check this out. Check this out.
I think I saw this one. He was saying that I identify with the Tainos because the blacks gave themselves away, right? Something like
Yeah.
that.
I see that your name is Taino. Why did he choose that to be your name? He said, because I identify with the Taino. What if your DNA said that you have predominantly African lineage and then European mixed? Would you still claim Taino, even if you aren't? And he said, well, see, that's not the point of why I identify as Taino. I identify because I identify with the Taino. And I said, how so and why so? Because they were the victims in all this mess of being colonized. And I said, wouldn't you say the same about the Africans too, that they were victims of all this? And he said, no, because unfortunately, my African ancestors were sold by other Africans. So they are to blame. It's their fault. So you see, when I wonder about where this self-hate comes from, now I see. But go ahead.
He wants to try to embrace being European as possible. They would try to hold on to that, knowing that they're black and they're nowhere near European and they don't look like that.
Hmm.
Even though they don't even have that in their DNA or whatever, they still try to embrace a little bit, try to hold on to that a little bit as possible. Always.
Yeah, it's the same thing with indigenous people of Mexico, of Central and South America. We have the tendency to hold on to every bit, even if we don't even have it, but we try to desperately look for a trace of some European so that we
Yes,
can claim it.
same
We
with
get-
Dominican Republic. So
Right.
when everybody does the results, it's like, oh man, I know exact. Same with my people as well, all the time, all the time. That's why I feel like we're more divided than ever because now it was about our people and the Europeans. Now we're fighting within our people.
There was an individual, he was a Mexican guy too, and he was trying to convince me that all Mexicans have a mixture of European. And I said, how about let's prove it to each other? Let's take a DNA test. I had already taken it. So I already knew the results. I have 0% European, right? So I said, how about let's prove it to each other? Let's take a DNA test. I showed it to him. And I said, show me your results. He had 0% European. And he
Wow.
said this, check me out. This is important. It's important for me to say because this is always a point of argument for a lot of people. But this can't be true because we speak Spanish and we have Spanish names. And I said, I don't think you know how colonialism works. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Little did we know, like this is not our heritage. This is some we're learning about the people that took over us, that put
Mhm.
us here. People don't understand that. People don't see that. This is not originally our heritage, the descendants of us. I don't think people realize that. That's why I say we're more divided than ever, because now we're more divided within our community.
And somebody in the comment section said black Americans have white last names. Yeah, absolutely. So nobody tries to force African Americans or black Americans, if you prefer, claim whiteness. Nobody tries to force black people. But I noticed that a lot of times, us, whether black or brown people in Latin America, we're always forced to claim some form of European trace. Always. And it is
Hmm.
due to the fact that we have Spanish names and speak Spanish. I also detected the anti-blackness whenever I discovered that Dominicans find it to be an insult when they're called Haitian, and Haitian meaning black, right? So that's when I detected, okay, you know what? I see now. I see what's going on. If in a country where 80% of the population are black, are offended because they're called Haitian, Haiti being a black country, I see the anti-blackness, because would you have been offended if you would have been called anything that relates to European presenting features? Just like in Mexico, you call us Indio, that's like spitting in our face. You know,
Hmm.
you call us anything that has to do with some form of indigeneity, we take that as an insult, because in a way you're calling us something inferior. But if you were to call us some kind of European something, oh, thank you.
I was one of those people too. I didn't know everything. I was brainwashed to believe that. I was in that society growing up. So of course you're gonna think that. But I learned, did my own research. Did not, you can't depend on these schools. They're not gonna teach you the real stuff. I did my parents always told me that. Do your own research, and I did. I found out the truth.
One of the things that has allowed me as a Mexican to understand the colorism and racism in Mexico is to not be biased and not be in denial more than anything. Don't be in denial about the situation. Once you start personalizing it as if Mexico belongs to me, so I must protect the reputation and the image of it. No. No, you address these issues with no bias, with no
Yeah,
emotion attached. Like, oh, well, no, that's not true about Mexico. No, it's true. Stop being in denial. There is anti-blackness, there's anti-indigeneity in Mexico. Stop lying to yourself. And I think that's a lot of the problem. We try our best to protect the image of
preach,
the country.
preach.
We try to protect the image of the country more than the actual people.